I know what they did to you. You don't have to pretend with me. You don't have to smile through clenched teeth and lie with your eyes. I've seen the truth written in the way you walk, like something inside you cracked but never quite collapsed. I've heard it in your silence, louder than a scream, and I know that behind your stillness is a storm that never got the chance to finish what it started. They let you go, like you were disposable, replaceable, forgettable, like all the time. The effort, the loyalty you poured into them meant nothing. They dropped you like a glass they never planned to catch, walked away from the wreckage without even looking back. You stood there bleeding, cut open by the very hands you once trusted to protect you. You tried to make sense of it, didn't you? Tried to replay every moment, rewrite the past in your head, searching for where it all went wrong. You wondered if you asked for too much. You blamed yourself for being too real, too loyal, too available. But deep down, you knew the truth. They didn't let you go because of your flaws. They let you go because your light was too much for their shadows to handle. And still, it hurt. There's a special kind of pain in being forgotten by the ones you'd go to war for. It's the ache that doesn't show up on X-rays, doesn't draw blood, but it breaks bones all the same. It's the silence after betrayal that screams in your ears when the world gets quiet. It's lying awake at 3 a.m., trying not to think about how easily they moved on, while you're still piecing yourself back together. They didn't just walk away. They erased you. They buried your name under whispers and rewrote the story like you were never part of the plot. But even silence has a memory. Even ghosts leave fingerprints. You didn't deserve it. You didn't deserve to be tossed aside like yesterday's news. But what they didn't understand is this. You are not the kind of soul that stays buried. You are not ashes to be swept away. You are the fire that survives the flood. You are the storm that rebuilds the sky. They thought they were done with you, thought they could unwrite you, outrun the weight of your presence. But here's the truth they don't say out loud. You haunt them now, not in a cruel way, not with vengeance or rage, but with the echo of what they lost, with the weight of your absence, with the unshakable, undeniable feeling that they made the worst mistake of their lives. They hear your name, and it stings. They see someone like you, and their chest tightens. They scroll through old photos, trying to feel nothing, and end up feeling everything, because they didn't just let you go. They let go of something rare, something real, something they'll never find again, no matter how many bodies they hold or smiles they fake. But don't you dare crawl back. Don't you dare shrink just to fit back into the mold they tried to break you in. You are not a second chance. You are not a backup plan. You are the lesson they'll never forget. You survive. That alone makes you dangerous, because now you know what you are without them. Now you've seen how far you can fall and still rise. And while they carry the weight of regret, you carry the spark of something new. Not revenge, evolution, not bitterness, rebirth. They let you go, but now they can't let you out of their mind. And you've already let go of them. All that's left now is to rise, louder, stronger, unapologetically you. You never forget the moment it happens. That split second when everything you thought was solid fractures, when someone looks you in the eye, and with a few careless words or a hollow silence they let go of you, of everything you built, of everything they once claimed to value. You blink, and suddenly you're outside the circle you helped create, standing in the cold while they laugh by the fire, like you were never there, like you didn't bleed to keep them warm. They said you weren't enough. Not in those exact words, of course. No, their language was colder, quieter. They said it with delayed reply, with ghosted call, with promises broken in silence. They said it by choosing anyone else but you. And now they check your profile in silence, scroll through the life you're piecing together, zoom in on your smile just to see if it's real, wondering if maybe they were wrong. But when it first happened, there was no power in you, only the sting of confusion, the numbness, like your heart was a hallway of unanswered doors. You replayed the moments over and over, The final conversation that felt like a car crash in slow motion. The look in their eyes when they realized they didn't need you anymore. Or worse, when they never did. And there you were, in the aftermath, sitting in the same room. But now everything felt unfamiliar. The silence wasn't peaceful anymore. It was punishment. Even your own breathing felt like it didn't belong. The texts stayed unread. Not because they were never seen, but because they were ignored. You tried to reason. You begged yourself not to reach out. But the loneliness, it scratched at your ribs like a caged thing. And the walls you once leaned on, they weren't walls at all, just illusions. The footsteps faded, but the echo remained. You wondered if you were too much, too intense, too emotional, too real, or maybe not enough, not smart enough, not beautiful enough, not important enough to fight for. Self-doubt slithered in like smoke under the door, soft at first, then thick, then choking. It whispered cruel truths in your own voice. It told you they were right to leave, that you were easy to forget, that you always will be. And part of you, the tired, trembling part, believed it. Because how could someone walk away from something real? How could they erase you from their life and sleep soundly? You started to think maybe love was just a myth people like you aren't meant to believe in. Maybe loyalty is just a game, and you were the only one playing it. The nights were longest when you didn't even cry, just lay there, empty, staring at ceilings that held more hope than your heart did. You kept showing up for the world, wearing the mask, smiling when your insides were splitting at the seams, making jokes with a voice that wanted to scream. Because what else could you do? You couldn't stop time. You couldn't rewind the moment they stopped choosing you. You just had to survive it, and no one saw how hard that was, how heavy it felt just to stand up, how painful it was to wake up and remember. They're gone. They chose to be, and they're not coming back. People told you to move on. They meant well, but they didn't see that grief doesn't wear a black veil. It wears your old hoodie. It smells like their shampoo. It lingers in songs that sneak up on you in grocery stores. You didn't just lose a person. You lost a part of yourself, the part that believed in them, the part that felt safe, the part that believed you were worth staying for. And yet, somehow, you're still here, not whole, not healed, but breathing. And in a world that forgot your name, that matters. Because somewhere deep beneath the ache, beneath the cold floor of your heartbreak, something stirs. Something refuses to die. A flicker, a spark, faint, but alive. You haven't found your fire yet, but you've survived the freeze. And that's where the story starts to shift. No one saw the nights you broke. No one heard the sobs you buried beneath the sound of running water. The way you collapsed in the shower, because the weight was too heavy to carry anywhere else. That was your sanctuary. Not because it was peaceful, but because it was the only place the tears could fall freely. The only place the pain didn't echo back with judgment. You screamed into pillows, bit your lip until it bled, cursed a sky that never answered. You whispered, "Why me?" like it was a prayer, not for salvation, but for explanation. But no voice came, only silence, only the drip of time dragging forward without mercy. You weren't walking, you were crawling, dragging your spirit through mud while the world kept spinning, smiling, shining, like it hadn't just witnessed your collapse. And you still showed up, hair brushed, eyes dry, smile stitched on like armor made of lies. Because even though your soul was cracking, you didn't want anyone to see you break. They didn't see what it took just to stand, just to breathe, just to not disappear. You kept going, even when it hurt, even when they laughed, even when the mirror didn't recognize you anymore, even when your body sat in room, but your mind was somewhere deep underwater, screaming through the silence. And still, you kept going. You didn't run toward the light. You crawled through the dark, through days that felt like years, through mornings where opening your eyes felt like betrayal, because you didn't want to face a world that had already discarded you. There's a kind of strength in that. Not loud strength, not shiny, motivational strength, but raw, bloodied, breath by breath, survival, that quiet power, the one no one claps for, the kind of strength that doesn't look like strength at all. You brushed your teeth with shaking hands. You returned calls with a voice that felt like gravel. You answered, "I'm fine," when you were anything but, and somehow you lived. Not fully, not freely, but enough to make it to the next hour, the next day, the next heartbeat. And every one of those was a rebellion, because the war you were fighting, it wasn't out there, it was inside you. It was the voice that told you to stay in bed forever, the memory that stabbed you when you smiled too wide, the phantom pain of people who were gone but still lived rent-free in your head. You were your own battlefield, your own soldier, your own medic, and no one clapped, no one noticed. But still, you rose, crawling, shaking, breathing, progress so small the world missed it. But not you. You knew. You knew that making it through a meal without crying was victory, that replying to a message was an act of resistance, that showing up to work, to life, to yourself, wasn't weakness. It was warriorship. You weren't just surviving. You were rebuilding, quietly, painfully, but completely. And the ones who doubted you, the ones who said you'd never recover, they weren't watching your journey, but one day they will. One day they'll look and wonder how you got there, how someone so broken found a way to rise. But they'll never know what it cost, because they didn't see the crawl, they only saw the climb. You were buried, but you were breathing, and that breath, that was your beginning. Look at you, still breathing, after everything, after the silence, the abandonment, the screams no one heard. You're still here. You've looked into the mirror before, but this time you see it, the cracks, the pain behind the pupils, the weight behind the eyes, but also something else, fire. It's small, faint, flickering like it's afraid to burn too bright, but it's there, alive, waiting. This mirror doesn't lie. It doesn't flatter. It doesn't filter. It tells the truth your mind's been trying to outrun. And the truth is this: you were never weak. They were just too blind to see your strength. They mistook your kindness for permission, your patience for passivity, your silence for surrender. But you were battling storms they couldn't survive. You were bleeding through smiles. You were dragging hope through hell, alone. You weren't fragile. You were forged. And maybe that's what scares you the most. Not that you're broken, but that you're becoming what they couldn't handle, becoming what you were always meant to be. You stood in front of that mirror, not to see what you've lost, but to remember what they tried to bury: your voice, your worth, your fight. They made you believe you had to earn love, that you were only as valuable as your usefulness, that if you were too loud, too emotional, too bold, too honest, you'd be abandoned. So you dimmed yourself, shrunk yourself, softened your edges just to fit in rooms you were destined to redesign. And now, here you are, staring back at yourself, not to beg for forgiveness, not to weep for the lost time, but to reclaim everything they made you forget. Look closer, you'll see it. The resilience in your jawline, the quiet defiance in your stare, the scars that no longer ask to be hidden. You don't wear pain like a wound anymore. You wear it like armor. They didn't break you, they woke you. Because the real enemy was never them, not really. It was the lie you believed, the one that whispered, "You are not enough," the one that echoed through every rejection, every closed door, every time you were overlooked. That lie lived inside you, fed off your doubts, drank from your fears. It made you question your reflection, made you feel like you had to apologize for existing, but not anymore. Now you know. Now you remember. You were always enough, more than enough. You were fire pretending to be ash. You were thunder trapped in a whisper. And if no one else claps for you, you will. If no one else sees you, you will. If no one else stays, you stay with you. You are not broken. You are building, layer by layer, brick by brick, soul by soul. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove yourself right. Right to survive, right to rise, right to dream again. The mirror doesn't lie, and this time, neither will you. No more pretending you're fine when you're not. No more shrinking to fit comfort zones that suffocate you. No more asking for permission to shine. You don't need their validation. You don't need their return. You don't need their name in your story to finish your book. Because you are the story. And the next chapter, it belongs to you alone. It started with rejection, not the loud kind, not screaming or slamming doors. No, this one was quieter, colder, like the slow withdrawal of warmth in a winter room, until you realized they were gone, and they weren't coming back. But something strange happened in the silence, something they never saw coming. While they thought they'd buried you, all they did was plant you. You see, some fires are lit with love, but others, the most powerful ones, are born from being left in the dark. They let you go, and you let go of who you used to be. You stopped chasing them. You started chasing purpose. You stopped looking back. You started building forward. No more begging. No more hoping they'd see your worth. You took that hope and turned it inward, where it belonged all along. And oh, the work began. While they slept peacefully, you built silently. Late nights turned to early mornings. Sacrifices became daily rituals. The grind wasn't glamorous. There were no cameras, no applause, no reassurance. Just you. You and the echo of your own promise. I will not die in the same place they left me. You studied when your eyes burned. You trained when your muscles trembled. You learned. You adapted. You fell. You got back up. Bloody, bruised, but unbreakable. You said no to comfort, no to ease, no to shortcuts, because this wasn't about revenge. Not really. This was about becoming someone they'd never deserve access to again. Not out of spite, but out of self-respect. They thought your silence meant surrender. It didn't. It meant focus. They thought your absence meant weakness. It didn't. It meant evolution. While they laughed at your collapse, you were rising beneath the rubble. While they thought you disappeared, you were becoming something bigger than their approval. That's the thing about pain. It's a terrible teacher. But if you survive its class, you walk out transformed. They threw matches on your name. They didn't know you were gasoline. And now, you don't need to announce your comeback. You are your comeback. The way you walk, the way you talk, the way you no longer shrink in rooms that used to intimidate you. You're no longer the one who waits to be picked. You build the table. You own the stage. You command the space. And the best part, you didn't do it for them. You did it for you. That version of you they left behind. The one crying on the floor. The one who couldn't breathe through the heartbreak. The one who almost gave up. You became who that version needed most. And now they watch from the sidelines. They scroll. They wonder. They whisper. They remember the moment they let you go, thinking you'd fade quietly into nothing. But you didn't fade. You forged. They were the spark. But you were always the fire, and the world's starting to feel your heat. There's a silence that comes before greatness. Not the kind they romanticize. Not peaceful. Not soft. This silence is sharp, heavy, unforgiving. No applause. No check-ins. No texts asking how you're holding up. Just you, alone in the dark. But something strange happened in that stillness. You didn't crumble. You grew. The world forgot you. But you remembered who you are. You remembered the way your soul once lit up when you spoke about your dreams. You remembered how your laughter used to echo before they made you doubt your joy. You remembered how your heart used to beat for something greater than survival. And you began again. No audience, no spotlight, no savior. Just effort, just grit, just a slow, grinding rebirth no one clapped for. You built in the shadows, you healed in the silence, you reassembled the pieces without a manual, without a hand to hold. Because that's what real transformation looks like. It's not fireworks, it's not Instagram posts and instant results. It's lonely, it's brutal, it's sacred. The version of you they dropped, that version no longer exists. That version begged for belonging. This one knows they are the belonging. That version tiptoed to keep the peace. This one walks like thunder, unapologetic, unafraid. You used to run from the dark. Now the dark is your sanctuary, your proving ground, your cocoon, because in the dark, no one watches. And when no one watches, you stop performing. You stop pretending. You face yourself, raw, real, undone. And what you find is power, not borrowed, not given, claimed. You stopped seeking validation from ghosts, stopped begging for closure from cowards, stopped replaying scenes where you were left waiting, because now, you know, you were never hard to love. They were just too small to hold you, so you became your own storm, your own flame, your own rise, not loud, not fast, but certain. You look in the mirror now and you see it, that steel in your spine, that fire behind your eyes, that silence, not emptiness, but fullness. A quiet so loud it shakes the ground beneath your future. No one sees it yet, and that's the beauty. Let them think you've disappeared. Let them believe they were right to leave. Let them sleep on you, because storms don't announce themselves. They just arrive, and you are almost ready. This isn't revenge. This isn't bitterness. This is transformation. What they thought was your ending was only your evolution. You're not just healing anymore. You're becoming. And soon, the world will hear what silence has been building. Funny, isn't it? How they never thought twice when they let you go. How easily they turned away, as if you were disposable, forgettable, replaceable. They didn't see the storm sleeping in your silence. They didn't notice the fire simmering beneath your surrender. They thought it was over. But now they scroll through your life from the shadows, watching, replaying, regretting, eyes locked on your rise, fingers hovering over messages they'll never send, and your name tastes like guilt on their tongue. They whisper it when no one's listening. They hear it in rooms you no longer enter. They feel it in the silence between their breaths, that haunting echo of what they had and what they lost. You don't haunt them like a ghost. You haunt them like a possibility, because now they know you were the one, the rare one, the kind they don't meet twice. They remember the way you loved them, trusted them, stood by them when no one else did, when they hadn't earned it, when they didn't deserve it, and they remember how they let it rot in their hand, how they mistook your gold for dust, how they walked away thinking they'd upgraded, only to find that no one else holds a candle to the fire you carried. Now you live in the corners of their mind, uninvited, unshakable. You didn't break them. You became unforgettable. And that's the part they never saw coming. You didn't lash out, didn't scream or beg or grovel. You just vanished. And when you returned different, sharpened, elevated, untouchable. They reach for their phones sometimes, start typing. Hey, I've been thinking about you, just wondering how you're doing. Delete, rewrite, delete again, because deep down, they know. It's not them you miss. It's not them you need. They feel the weight of your absence now, and it's heavier than your presence ever was. Because when you were around, they took you for granted. Now that you're gone, you're mythic. You've become the what if in their story. The lesson they had to lose to learn. The mirror they avoid because it shows too much truth. They check your profile in silence. They show their friends your wins like they were part of the journey. But they weren't. They forfeited their seat at your table. And you built an empire out of their dismissal. You turned their doubt into drive, their distance into direction, their goodbye into your greatest chapter. And now they can't sleep. Not when the same silence they gave you keeps shouting your name back at them. They let you go. Now they can't let you out of their mind. That's poetic justice. Not flames, not revenge, just evolution. They will spend years searching for your echo in other people and never find it. Because what you gave them, that wasn't normal. That was once in a lifetime. And now, lifetime has passed them by. So let them scroll, let them stare. Let them wonder. You don't owe them a comeback. You are the comeback. And they will feel your absence louder than they ever heard your presence. Forever. They counted you out, marked you absent, filed your name under failure, and moved on without a second thought. To them, your silence meant surrender. Your absence meant defeat. Your stillness They mistook it for an ending, but you weren't done. You were reloading every quiet moment, every dark night, every lonely hour behind closed doors. You weren't breaking, you were becoming. While they told the story of your downfall, you were sharpening your sword in the dark, forging armor from the pain, polishing your mind with discipline, training your soul with purpose. You became a warrior in solitude, not by choice, but by necessity. Because when they abandoned you, you learned to carry yourself. When they underestimated you, you learned to over-deliver. When they forgot you, you learned to remember yourself. They thought you were done, but you weren't done. You were rising, quietly, violently, completely. The world begins to shift now, not because you demanded attention, but because you command energy. You walk into rooms, and the atmosphere changes. People feel your presence before you speak, because you've done what most never will. You've rebuilt yourself from ashes and refused to stay dust. You don't seek revenge. You radiate power, and that is far more terrifying. You've become the storm they never saw coming. Not wind, not rain, not noise, force. You no longer chase approval. You attract the respect. You no longer wait for opportunities. You create them, and those watching, they feel it. Even if they can't name it, they see the shift in your eyes, the calm in your chaos, the conviction in your silence. Because this version of you doesn't flinch. This version of you doesn't ask for permission. This version of you walks like someone who's touched hell and walked out glowing. You impact people now, not just with words, but with presence, with energy, with the way you no longer fold under pressure, but become the pressure. Your growth is not quiet anymore. It's undeniable. You are the storm, not to destroy, but to awaken. People around you rise differently now, because your strength gives them permission. Your fire ignites theirs. Your survival story is their battle cry. They thought you were done, but you were just getting started. And now they'll have to watch you rise to heights their imagination never reached. Because they never truly saw you. But you always knew. You knew you weren't made to stay small. You knew you weren't built to break. You knew your stillness wasn't weakness. It was strategy. So walk like a storm. Move like a force, speak like thunder, live like truth, because the world will never forget the day they realized the one they let go was the one they could never outrun. You've come so far, but there's still a weight, still a whisper in the back of your mind, the ache of unfinished conversations, the ghost of what if, the bruise where closure should have been. Let me say this plain. You owe them nothing, not a message, not a reply. Not a piece of your peace. You don't owe them your healing story. You don't owe them access to your light. You don't owe them the privilege of knowing how you rebuilt what they broke. They made their choice. You made your comeback. And the two roads don't intersect anymore. Forgiveness? That's yours. But not for their sake, for yours. Because carrying bitterness is like drinking poison and expecting them to feel the sickness. You've bled enough. You've cried enough. You've screamed into enough empty rooms. Now it's time to release. Not because they deserve peace, but because you do. You deserve to walk forward without dragging their shadows behind you. You deserve joy untainted by memories. You deserve love that doesn't echo their neglect. They are no longer your villain because you stopped being the victim. That chapter is closed. The ink is dry, the door is locked, and you hold the only key. They may come back, with apologies too late, with words they should have spoken when it mattered. But you don't need them. You needed you, and you showed up. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means remembering without bleeding. It means keeping the lessons and losing the weight. It means choosing freedom over replaying old scenes where you begged for meaning in their silence. They never gave you closure, because it was never theirs to give. Closure is yours to claim. And this is how it sounds. I survived you. I grew without you. I forgive you, but I don't need you. I don't hate you, but I don't chase you. I wish you healing from a distance. You don't look back. You don't water dead gardens. You don't entertain ghosts that only know how to haunt. Because now you see clearly. Clarity is liberation, and liberation is strength. You rise higher when your arms aren't reaching backward. You run faster when your feet aren't tied to yesterday. You love deeper when your heart isn't defending old wounds. This is your freedom, not loud, not venge, just whole. You've outgrown their version of you. You've outlived their expectations. You've outshined their absence. Now you walk like someone who doesn't need to explain. You smile like someone who found peace in silence. You live like someone who finally realized you owe them nothing. You owe you everything. The transformation is complete. You're not the person they left behind anymore. Not the broken thing they underestimated. Not the dreamer they dismissed. You are the storm now. The fire. The force. They thought they left you in ashes. But you were never meant to burn out. You were meant to burn brighter. Your voice? It's thunder now. It doesn't ask for attention. It commands it. Every word you speak is a wave crashing against the shore. Every sentence you breathe is a fire that can't be quenched. You don't need validation. You don't need applause. You don't need anyone to tell you that you've arrived. You are already here, and you've been here all along. You don't prove them wrong anymore. That was never your purpose. You're proving yourself right. You're proving to you that you are enough, that you were always enough, and that nothing they said, nothing they did, could ever take that from you. You speak with purpose now. Your words are deliberate. Your actions are decisive. You no longer walk in shadows. You move with intent, and the world shifts to make room for you. You rise like mountains do, slow, steady, unstoppable. You climb heights others only dream of, because you know the view at the top is yours to claim. The summit is your birthright. You burn like flame, wild, fierce, unapologetic. Nothing can touch your fire. Nothing can dim your light. You don't fear the heat. You don't fear the burn, because you are the fire. You soar like wings, free, unbroken, untouchable. The wind carries you. The sky bends beneath you. You are weightless now, and nothing can bring you back to earth. You've broken the chains of doubt. You've burned the bridges of fear. You've cast aside the voices that told you no. And now, you are unstoppable. Your path is clear. Your mission is set. And nothing, no one, can stand in your way. You've outgrown their opinion. You've outgrown their limitation. You've outgrown their vision of who you should be. Now you become who you were always meant to be, a force to be reckoned with, an energy that cannot be contained.